right through the middle. So you can see what it looks like. But this is what you want. This is the end result. So we've made the starter. We put 100 grams in this bowl, the starter. And we put 100 grams of water, mix it with the starter, and then 100 grams of flour and mix that. We waited 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours, and now you can see the bubbles. You can see how kind of really just how bubbly and stretchy that is, and that's exactly where we want it to be. We're going to add more water, more flour. Zero out the scale. Add water first, and I'm going to make a smaller loaf. So I'm going to add 200 grams, or I'm sorry, 150 grams of water. I'm at like 147, which is good enough. Usually how I do it is the amount of water that I put in there, I times it by 2, and that's how much flour I'm going to add. So right now we're at 146. I'm just going to say 150 grams of water. So I'm going to add 300 grams of flour. I'm going to zero out the scale again. Sorry, let me mix the water into the starter. There we go, nice and mixed. And here comes 300 grams of flour. Now, at this point, the recipe tells you to wait, but I just find it so much easier just to add the salt now. So that's what I do. Take some salt, sea salt, not add iodized salt. It's been bleached, it's been processed, it's been, iodine has been thrown in there. Just get some sea salt. It's good stuff. It's not that much more. And it's healthier for you. So I take a little less than a tablespoon, and I sprinkle it in there. Sometimes I won't even add the whole thing because, it really depends if you want it salty or not salty. But I feel like this is really good. The way, I don't know, it's like the perfect amount of salt. But again, like you can decide what's too salty or what's not salty enough. Mix it together. Like so. It's about pretty, mixed. Again, I use a plastic bowl. I feel like a plastic bowl works better than a glass or a stainless steel one. I just feel like it sticks less, believe it or not. And I usually use just like a big metal spoon. You can use a wooden spoon, but I feel like a wooden spoon, it sticks a little bit more. It's just easier to clean. You'll find what works for you. There's a lot of YouTube videos that show bakers that use their hands to mix everything. And I don't like it. I don't like getting my hands all just goopy with dough, and it just gets, just having to clean it off your hands. I don't like it. I like to stay as clean as possible. And the more you get on your hands, the more that you waste. So at this stage, because you can see that there's some kind of like, that's stuck to the bowl and whatnot, and even the spoon, take a bread scraper, or a dough scraper, Scrape it off the spoon. I feel like it's so much cleaner to do it this way. Look at that, I got most of it off. And then I take this and I just scrape all of that off the side, and I get the bottom too. You'll see like on the bottom there'll be some stuff there. I'll get all that, scrape it down. I usually, for whatever reason, just kind of put these little indents in there. I keep the dough scraper in there like so. Put the lid on, and you don't even have to clasp it. You can just keep it on like that, just so it doesn't dry out. And then I wait about half an hour. And it takes a little bit of time for the water to kind of penetrate the flour dough. If you start folding it right now with your hands, it's going to stick super bad. Wait a half hour, let the water really soak into the flour. It's going to get more flexible, and it's going to not stick to your hands. All right, it's been 30 minutes. Forgot to mention the type of flour. So this is natural white. It's not organic, but it's not like the super refined, bleached, enriched crap that you find. You can use that stuff, but I feel like this stuff's way better. But it's unbleached, premium all-purpose flour. Anyways, it's been 30 minutes. Take the top off. I'm going to rinse my hand with water so that when I fold the dough, it doesn't stick to my hand. Hand is wet. I'm just gonna press it, pick it up, and fold it. And then I'm gonna keep doing that. Fold. Now the ingredients say fold it 4 times. I'm not a 4-time type of guy. I like fold it until it gets a little bit like tight. You can feel it in the dough where the dough gets kind of tight and it gets a little bit sticky because the water starts to wear off. There's the dough. That's the first fold. Put the dough scraper or whatever, I forget what it's called, the dough scraper, knife, whatever. And then I wait another 30 minutes. All right, it's been another half hour. Time to wet my hand, fold the dough a few more times. So this is the second fold. And I just take it, fold it, and I rotate it, fold it, and I keep doing that. Fold, fold. It's starting to get a little bit more flexible. That's it. Put the lid on. Oh, wait, 30 more minutes. Same thing, starting to get even more nice and like supple and soft. Exactly how I want it to be. So it's starting to fold without like tearing the dough, and that's when you for sure know that it's ready. So you get a proofing bowl. I use the cloth because it's just easier. And I think one of these is already floured. Dust it so it doesn't stick when I put it in there. I use rice flour. Using wheat flour just doesn't do as well. The wetness in the dough sticks to the wheat and it eventually sticks to the cloth. Using corn flour is too gritty, kind of like what they use for pizzas. It just doesn't work as well. This is a good in-between, I find. It's a neutral taste. Take it, get a little bit of like a wire mesh sieve. I'm just gonna dust the bowl and the sides. Make sure you get the sides. You don't have to put a ton on there, just a little bit. Then I take my dough and I flip it. Boom, there it is. And now I'm just going to, it's called tensioning the dough. You take it and you push it, you turn it, and then you tighten it, and you can see the dough bend. Now I just do this roll thing where I kind of like do that. And you want to get to the point before it actually breaks. If you tighten it too much, it just like starts to break and you can see like the outer membrane kind of break, and you don't want that. So that's good enough. It's nice and tensioned. So I'm gonna flip it over. I'm gonna flip it, put it right into the bowl like that. Now, this is the easy part. Now I take a like hair, what is this? Like a hair shower cap, which works really well. You can put it in a big Ziploc if you want. You can put it, in a big bowl. Sometimes like it'll fit inside of a bowl and then you put the lid on, but you want to make sure that you put something over it so it doesn't dry out in the fridge, because that's where it's going next. Now you saw how I flipped it after I tensioned the dough, that I actually took it and I flipped it on its head. So the top part is on the bottom and the top right here is the actual bottom. So anyways, if that makes sense. The folding part is now at the top. Once you put this in the fridge, it's going to what's called proof. And this is where the bacteria works, and it's going to get that nice sour taste to it. So I'm going to put it in the fridge. Close the fridge. Now, it is kind of late. I started late. It's like almost midnight, but it'll be ready in the morning. So as soon as I get up in the morning, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to put it on the counter. I'm going to let it get to about room temperature. And then at that point, I will record some more video. All right, it's the next morning. It's morning time. So I'm going to take the sourdough dough out of the fridge and put it on the counter. And I'm going to leave it here on the counter for a couple of hours until it gets to room temperature. I'm just going to put my hand on top. Right now it's like really cold. When it feels pretty warm on the touch, and you'll see that the dough will actually rise in the process, it'll get nice and big and puffy. That's when I'll know. that it's time to put it in, that I'll preheat the oven and then actually bake it. But for now, I need to let it warm up to room temperature. If I was to bake it now, it would rise, but the inside would still be gooey. It would not work out very well. So time to wait, time to be patient. In the meantime, typically if I'm making a loaf every day, I'll start with the next batch of sourdough and go through the whole process again. It's just a cycle. It's a routine. It's a habit. And yeah, so I'll be back once it is ready to put in the oven. It's been about 3 hours, just like I said. The dough, I'm feeling the top, and it's just like barely cool. It's literally like almost perfect. So it's time to preheat the oven to 485 degrees. The Dutch or the cast iron is already in there. Oh, you need to have the cast iron hot. You can't put the dough on something that's kind of cold or room temperature and put it in the oven and expect for it to balloon up and cook really well. Yeah, so I'm gonna turn the oven on to bake 485 and wait 20 minutes. All right, it's been about 20 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and pull out the cast iron. I only pull out the lid kind of portion, or in this case, the pan. I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil, just a tiny bit, just to help it so the dough doesn't stick. It probably wouldn't. I rarely do this, but sometimes I do, just every now and again. Then I take the shower cap off of the dough or off of the proving basket. I'm going to flop it in there. Ooh, I can hear that sizzle. You can hear that sizzle. Be careful not to burn yourself. I'm going to spray a little bit of water on there. Make sure that there's moisture. I'm going to put it back in the oven. All right. Now I'm going to set the oven for timer 20 minutes. Boom. This is going to be good. This one I know is going to be good. So I'm going to open the oven up and take the very lid off, or the top part off, as you can see. And now I'm going to close it back up. You see how beautiful that looks. And I'm going to set the timer for another probably 6 minutes. All right, it is ready. It's been 6 minutes. I'm going to take it out. And there she is. That is like, look at how golden brown and beautiful that thing is. Well, that's what you want right there. That's what you want. You can see how, you know, once you made those cuts, it just kind of balloons up and it just becomes this beautiful loaf. I put it on the stove so it kind of airs out. If you put it on directly on the counter or directly at something flat where there's not airflow around it, it's gonna the bottom is gonna get kind of soggy because of how much moisture content is in this loaf. Now you let it cool for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then it's ready to cut and eat. I'm gonna let it wait for that long, and then I'll cut it and show you guys what it looks like inside. Right through the middle, so you can see what it looks like on the inside. It has a nice open crumb. It's not like too open. Some sourdough breads have like huge holes, which I don't quite like, because even though it's nice and soft and it's great for just buttering it up, but like putting butter on it and eating it, it's terrible for sandwiches, because anytime you put mayo on it, or if you do peanut butter and jelly, as we all know, it just falls right through the holes and you get jelly and peanut butter all over your hands, or mayo, or whatever it is. So to each their own. But this is what it should look like, and it is just super soft. It's not doughy. It's not completely dry. It's just, you know, it's got a nice little crust on there. I don't know if you can hear kind of the crust crackling, but this is what you want. This is the end result.